Welcome to Letters from New Zealand. I'm John Jarvis. In London, in the 1960s, I read an article in the Daily Telegraph that New Zealand was about to hold a general election to choose a socialist government. Both National and Labour were likened to Tweedledee and Tweedledum when it came to offering the same slice of the financial pie for their election promises. At that time, New Zealand was under the first-past-the-post system, but all that changed when we joined Germany and, rather surprisingly, Mexico, using the MMP system. Small parties now had a chance to poll 5% or more and creep into Parliament, breaking the duopoly. New Zealand's political leaders rarely receive a mention in major overseas newspapers, but there are some exceptions. In June 1973, Labour Prime Minister Norman Kirk placed the names of all his ministers in a hat and drew out Minister for Immigration Fraser Coleman. He was dispatched in the frigate HMNZS Otago to sail to the French atmospheric nuclear test site at Mururoa. The project had some success and later forced the French underground. The New York Times reported that the leader of the opposition National Party, Rob Muldoon, was struck in the face by a bag of flour that burst. Breaking away from his police escort, he began throwing punches while shouting, "One at a time, you're welcome." Jacinda Ardern was the first female world leader to bring a 5-month-old infant into the UN meeting in New York. The baby girl stole the show. Parliament in Wellington rose this week, and there were the usual valedictory speeches. Some were vindictive and plaintive. These ex-members would now struggle to obtain oxygen within their communities. Others were mundane, and they would now disappear as if they were on some witness protection program. And some were witty and humorous. These would be offered lucrative positions or contracts in their communities and beyond. Party leaders are now turning on each other to state who they would work with in coalition government. Labour would work with the Greens, but ruled out the New Zealand First. National would work with ACT, and New Zealand First would work with anyone to re-enter Parliament. Maori parties have traditionally backed Labour, but now they tend to shop around. Confused? 3-term governments are rare in New Zealand. A previous National Prime Minister realised this and retired, leaving his deputy to lose the election, then retire. Labour, 1999 to 2008. The first Labour government, 1935 to 1949, had to deal with the economic depression and World War II. Voters will now keep an eye on the polls, and there are some with a reputation for consistency and accuracy, others less so, and one uses a kiwi bird to peck out the symbol of the party, but may be guided by smell rather than clairvoyancy. One national Prime Minister, buoyed by the encouraging polls, then heavily defeated, shouted "Bugger the pollsters" when he shifted into the opposition's crowded offices. Do not expect any rash financial promises that will attract the call of "Show me the money." The Finance Minister has already had to cut existing budgets to fund a $3 million shortfall in tax income. Current polling shows that National and ACT could govern in coalition. The Green Party is strengthened, so it will be up to the Labour Party to improve on its 28% if it wishes to remain in power. Who was it that said, "A week is a long time in politics"? Sit back and enjoy the road and stage shows. Thank you for watching. Please tick the subscribe thingy below and keep in good health.